Today we're finally gonna paint this. What up friends, Liron here. Thank you for joining me in another video. So in continuation with the videos sequence, 2 days ago you had the preparation, yesterday was the time-lapse version, and today finally we're getting into the narrated version, okay? So I really hope you enjoyed this one. It's quite an interesting process, I think. Nothing really stood out for me in terms of the actual painting process. There isn't too much cleverness to it like some of the other paintings I did recently. It's just pretty straightforward painting, especially once you went through the preparation process. Okay, so nothing too mind-boggling here, but I will narrate the process, of course, so you can better understand what I'm doing in each and every part of the drawing and painting process. Okay, so let's get started.
Okay, so just forgive me because I'm a little sneezed today, so my voice may be a little annoying. Apologies about that. So I'm just starting out here with the two most dominant shapes, like I always do, which are the ground and the sky, the land and the sky. There's this mountain ridge going from the right to left. And going behind that church. I believe it's a church somewhere in the south of Germany. Just a beautiful view, and it's really one of my favorite subjects lately. For some reason, I really enjoy working on such rural churches and views like that. So anyway, now I'm marking, generally speaking, where I want to put the church. I'm marking where it's going to start to the right and where it's going to end to the left. This is a bit challenging because there is also a matter of choice here, and I am free to move things around a little bit. What you see me do is trying to figure out what percentage it takes from the horizontal distance of the canvas. And I ended up deciding on these two spots. So it's about a third, maybe a little over a third, and it's dead in the center. What's going to make this composition a little more interesting is the mountain ridge and the trees, so it's okay that it's pretty much in the center in this case. The angles are a very tricky thing here. There's quite a lot of them due to the shapes of the roofs. So this is just something you have to sometimes put down a line and then correct it as you go along. There are a few lines here that I corrected, but once you have some lines that are your frame of reference for the continuation, then you can add additional lines and have it work well. For example, now I put this diagonal roof here, so when I'm going to place the one to the right, it's going to be somewhat parallel to the first one I put. So you'll see this in just a moment, once I finish working on this main part of the structure. Now working on that left wall here. This demo is real-time, but there are touches of time-lapse, because some parts are just large washes that may not be super interesting to look into in too much detail. Okay, so it's going to be mainly real-time with some time-lapse. Now getting in that wall on the left, it's important to get these shapes as accurately as possible. As you can see, I have gone a little, I'm not 100% accurate with the roof. In the reference you can see less of it, but that's fine because the general feeling stays the same, so it's okay. Now I'm placing the mark for the very top edge of this part of the roof. There's this small symbol there at the top, or a window, and you see this line is somewhat parallel to the previous one. It deviates slightly. It's not 100% parallel, but it is somewhat close to that. So I can use that first line as a guideline, okay? And this is what you want to do. You want to constantly compare. This is a concept I'm going to talk about more in a future video probably, because I just now understand its its importance. I really try to reverse engineer what I'm doing when I'm drawing, and I find all sorts of insights that come to me with time. So it's very interesting to see what my brain gravitates towards when I see an object, when I try to draw a tree, when I try to draw a structure. I really try to get inside my own mind consciously and understand what I'm looking for and what I'm trying to do. So a lot of it is comparing, just trying to figure out where the line comes in comparison to another significant maybe point of interest or another significant line that you can use to place your next one. Okay, this is really important. So I'm constantly comparing and trying to realize. For example, you can see there are two triangles on the right. So the bottom triangle, the one that's close to the top of the tree, falls down on that guideline I put earlier for the taller part of the roof. So just these two lines converge, which is a really good way of figuring out how to use what you already have. Anyway, now this wall is a bit skewed. The angle of the recording makes it even more skewed, but this is actually my mistake. Because of the angle of photography, it looks like the church is sort of collapsing to the right. It's due to the very wide angle, I'd assume. Wide angle and relatively small distance from the photographer to the church, so it makes it lean a bit to the right, but I made it a little more exaggerated, which is my main mistake here. Other than that, it's pretty accurate. Now the thing is, when you do spend enough time to compare and to make sure everything is as accurate as possible, even mistakes like this that can be minor or can be a little more significant, they don't really ruin anything because all the rest is so tight and just looks good. Okay, so these mistakes are perfectly okay as long as in the grand scheme of things you are fairly accurate and you're okay with the proportions and it all makes sense, okay? So you do have some leeway in terms of the drawing. It doesn't have to be 100% to look good, okay? Now I'm moving on with the trees here, and I put a lot of effort into defining the shape of the actual leafy part of the tree, but I'm still trying to sort of use a pattern that's very loose, because what I'm gonna do later on is paint it. And some of you know that I don't like to constrict myself to a drawing too much. I like to make sure I'm drawing with my watercolor brush, not just with the pencil. And the implication of that is that I try to have my drawings as accurate as possible, but as loose as possible. Okay, the two can work together. You can make a drawing, you can create a drawing that's very accurate, but is still loose and leaves you enough room for interpretation. Okay, so you can see it's basically the skeleton of the church's structure, which I want to get accurate. And when I get to the finer details, like the windows, stuff like that, I'm not gonna draw every window pane or every shutter or blind, step. So I'm just gonna put them in there and let the watercolor do the rest. And this is really good practice in just improving your watercolor brush work and stuff like that. If you constrict yourself too much to the drawing, you just end up making it look a little too like a coloring book, too much like a coloring book. It's harder to perceive the values and things like this. And mind you, a lot of people do it even looser than me. I feel like I'm not still at that level, but I see a lot of really great artists actually that do very minimal drawings. And for me, I don't think, well, I should probably try more of it, just to see where it leads me. But I do need some framework, and a lot of people, they're very loose in their drawings, and I don't even understand how they see the lines after they put in that first or second washes, and so I have to be able to see them for now. But it's very interesting. Just talking about it makes me realize that maybe this is something I want to work on specifically, just doing very loose drawings and then trying to build upon them. Okay, so now you see I'm sort of dividing this into windows. I used one guideline that moves in parallel to the roof, just to make sure the windows are accurate. And now I'm just splitting that area into different shapes for the windows. This is something really important. You learn how to do that with time. To first build a framework, meaning start from large to small. So instead of just putting in the windows like sometimes I do when I do spontaneous sketching or things like this, I actually build a framework for them. I build a rectangular shape, and on top of that shape I start adding in these three small windows, and inside the windows I'm starting to put in the details. I believe I'm not actually drawing like the panes or the shutters or whatever it is. I'm just leaving it like that. Yeah, and I'm gonna let the brush do most of the work. So the drawing is it's sort of 2/3 into process. What's left here is that strong shadow under that, exactly where I'm working on right now. Looking back, I should have done it a little darker. You'll see soon the results, so you'll understand what I'm talking about. I should have probably done it a little darker, but that's okay because, again, in the grand scheme of things, it looks okay. I'm not sure about you, but for me, many times, especially when I'm a beginner to something, I feel like if not everything is perfect, then for sure the result is going to be significantly bad. So, for example, let's say 100% is an amazing painting, like the best painting, some of the best artists in the world. So I would be sure that if one or two things go wrong, it'll immediately decrease it to like 60%, but that's just not true. From what I find from just painting a lot is that you again, just like with the drawing, you have some leeway, some margins to mess up. Okay, if you make a mistake here and there, something is not exactly accurate, as long as it's not the main area of focus, or it's or as long as it's not like the highest contrast point that you screwed up, or a very large wash that's inconsistent with the reference. You're gonna be good. It's not gonna decrease it to 60%. It's gonna lower it maybe to, I don't know, 70, 80%. And of course, again, I'm using very empiric, very logical ratings here, and there is, of course, the whole dimension of taste. You know, some people may like a painting, some people may hate it. I do find beauty in technical knowledge, meaning if a drawing is actually accurate and actually matches reality and the atmosphere that's conveyed is good. I saw a video about talking about the difference between illustration and art, and why illustration isn't widely considered as art. And it just boggles my mind that illustration isn't considered as art, but maybe a pile of towels inside a glass box will be considered art in a modern museum. Because when I measure the merit of art, let's call it that way, I find beauty in technicality, meaning I would want the artist to put some effort into building skill. And if anyone can pile up a few towels, or arrange a few books together and give it some meaning, then what's the added value? And I'm really trying to say this without disrespect to modern artists. There's a lot of modern art that's amazing, but and again, this term modern art, I know it's so there's so many ways to interpret that, but I'm referring basically to all those museums that it's art that anyone could have created in terms of skills, and this is what bugs me. So anyway, I do think there's a lot of value in actually acquiring a skill set and using that to create art, like the old masters of the Renaissance, fathers of the Renaissance, all those artists from back then. Now I'm going into the painting. So anyway, the old masters of the Renaissance, they were trying to imitate reality. There was no cameras back then, and this was what was praised as high-level art. Now, that's fine. It doesn't mean that surrealistic art isn't good. Of course not. Or that abstract art isn't good. But even to those things, there are some skills to be acquired. I just saw, by the way, this is just the Ultramarine, French Ultramarine by Daniel Smith. I like to ramble, but then sometimes I'm like, well, I gotta narrate some of the process. So, and by the way, thank you so much for I saw all your comments from the video, the narrated version of painting people, sketching and drawing and painting people. And I'm so thankful. I really appreciate it, and I'm amazed that some of you say that I'm actually your company while you work, and you're actually listening to these videos in their entirety. I really appreciate it. It's just amazing to me, and then I'm thankful that my content, my talking, my ideas can be company to someone while they're doing something and really enjoying themselves, or even in their free time. It's just amazing. Which got me thinking actually about making something like a podcast, because I find that I can express myself. If I get into a rant about a subject, I can really go at it and share my viewpoint. So it's just interesting for me, because the whole audio thing is becoming really huge. Podcasts are really popular right now. So I'm just wondering what kind of added value I can add to that. So we'll see about that. But anyway, about the wash of the sky, it's gonna go to time-lapse soon. I am not exactly pleased with the way it turned out, and not because necessarily but anyway, it's not that I did something wrong. I just wasn't really. I didn't have a lot of proper wash control here. So you saw earlier some parts dried a bit. It's funny because I showed my sister this painting, and she said she loves the sky. So I would assume that the results again can be interpreted in so many ways. It can look like a variety of colors, or it can look like some dry streaks, which occur when you don't control the wash very well, or when you mess up a bit. So anyway, yeah, I don't know. It's really this is why I'm not so hard on myself in terms of how well a painting turned out or not. I am very critical, and some of you have pointed that out throughout my videos, that I do talk a lot about what I could have done better and where I messed up. But I also give myself credit first, and second, I think this is really what helps me improve so fast. So I'm happy for that. And when I go to sleep at night, I'm not bashing myself. So it's not like that. I'm just very critical in a logical sense, but on an emotional level, which is an interesting concept, by the way. On an emotional level, I'm very accepting of the way my paintings and drawings turn out. I'm very accepting of them because they couldn't turn out better. I did my best. As long as I did my best. A great example of that was one of the latest demos I did with another village. I believe it was in Germany as well, where I said I messed up so many things there, but it all turned out the best that it could because I still did my best. So what can I blame myself for? Nothing. So anyway, the wash on the left is a combination of French ultramarine and burnt sienna, which makes them sort of negate each other and gray each other out. This will be a recurring theme in this painting, generally speaking, because I will use that to create several grays, as you will soon see. And the wash here on the right is, you may have seen me combine all sorts of colors. So the base for that is sap green. The base for all greens here is sap green. And then I add to that some burnt sienna, some blue. I really went wild with the combination here because I wanted to achieve a specific color, and it took me some time to get there. Anyway, now what I'm doing is very interesting. I'm doing this wet in wet, so or rather in one even wash. So I finished with the green for the background, and now I'm just moving on to those very yellow trees more in the foreground. This is very interesting because one is in the background, one is in the foreground, but I wasn't too concerned about making a huge separation between the two. I still do that in one wash, which I find pretty cool. The yellow I use here is the one I demoed 2 videos ago. I'm not really sure. I think it's a Cotman. It's sort of a warm yellow, so any warm yellow can replace it. Something like New Gamboge, or even Indian yellow, or something like that. Okay, and the more I go down, the more I add a little more green to it, just to make it a little darker, because the green contains also some French ultramarine, which darkens the whole thing, and also some burnt sienna. And now I'm just trying to make a stronger mix in general, just for the bottom of the trees. And I will continue with that sort of even wash all the way down with the grass, and this is a very interesting part. And I didn't really do that in time-lapse, although looking back I probably should have, just the next part. But anyway, what you'll see me do soon is just take some green, put it in that mixture. This is exactly what I'm doing now. Adding it into the mixture, and I'm testing on a test page to see how dark it is. I don't want it to be too light, This is my main concern here because the grass is fairly dark. And you see I'm just going with the existing wash, going over the tree branches because I don't want it to be too fragmented. And they are going to be significantly darker, so I can afford that. And just as a general tip, if you're placing down a wash and there are elements that are going to be significantly darker over that, you can cover them because the significantly darker color will cover the initial wash and you won't see it through, okay? It's going to be fairly opaque, so you can do that. Just as a general guideline, you can cover everything with the sky color if the structures are going to be darker. So yeah, this is just, and it makes your washes look much more even. You don't have to do so much negative painting, which is a big challenge, a huge challenge. I was really struggling with it in the sky here, in this one. Now notice how the fence pops as soon as I add the grass in. I just think that's a very cool effect. Really enjoyed getting it. And now I understood that I have to keep a relatively wet wash here if I want to get it to be even. So I added a lot of paint and a lot of water. Sometimes you really have to be careful with these things because if you don't mix enough paint, and I received some feedback about that, and I'm aware of it. I know that if you don't mix enough paint, your wash is not going to be even, like no chance. What I'm doing here is pretty interesting. I'm going from right to left, but I'm still making sure that the farther away we go, the greener it is, and the closer it is to us, the more yellow is added to the mixture. So you can see I'm going for the farther areas now. So that's pretty green. And I'm adding constantly a bit more sap green, a little more sap green. And as I mentioned in the preparation video, I want to keep the purity of the greens here. And here I'm adding yellow for the very close foreground. But anyway, I want to keep the vibrancy of the colors and their purity because there's going to be a lot of grays for the roofs. Do you see that dry brush? That's a really cool thing that will help us use that for flowers or for details. It was just a moment of genius. I was like, let's put this one as a dry brush. If you haven't cut it, then go back a few seconds, you'll see it. But in any case, because the roofs are going to be fairly gray with the burnt sienna and French ultramarine, I wanted to preserve at least the greens to have them very vibrant, very fun and beautiful. Okay, so this was my goal here. Now some green in the background, which will also bring up this fence on the left, which is a different fence. The fence on the right is sort of a like what you'd expect to see in suburbs, like a picket fence. The one on the left is a little more of a fields, maybe barn type of fence. So now, just for the background, I'm putting a green that's fairly dark, and it should be compatible with the mountain ridge on the right. So it's very much green and blue to send it backwards. I did it in, of course, time-lapse because it's just not that interesting. I wanted to get a few time-lapses here and there, as I mentioned earlier, because it's just a very long video, so yeah. And now I'm doing that mix of, again, burnt sienna and French ultramarine. The cool thing about this combination, and I started with using this one from my first day in watercolor probably, is that it negates one another because you have the warm and cool, and they're opposites, pretty much opposites on the color wheel, so you get a beautiful gray. But what I really like about it is that by playing with the ratio, you can cool it or warm it up. It's a very popular combination. You'll see so many artists using it. Some actually don't, which is, of course, not everyone uses it, but in the beginning it was like a crutch for me. I would use it for everything. And then I understood that it's just not, it's not a must. I can try out other things. And I really started opening my horizons and just trying all sorts of different combinations just to create more interesting color combinations for myself. Right now I know that my biggest sticking point is actually the color selection. It's one of my the things I have to work on the most, because my drawings are accurate, my values are somewhat, I think, like 70-80% accurate, maybe even more sometimes, but the colors I choose are the ones that prevent it from achieving that realistic yet impressionistic look that I strive for. What I want to do is, again, my biggest inspirations are artists like Joseph Zbukvic and Alvaro Castanet. What they do is you look at their painting and it looks so real. You can see that it's so real and you feel it. But on the other hand, you can totally tell that it's a painting. And why is that? Because it's very stylized. They have their own style. Now, I'm not after imitating that exact style. I'm trying to find that style within myself by working on my natural strengths. But one of my greatest sticking points or weaknesses right now is actually this, the color selection. And a lot of people won't notice it. They'll be like, yeah, it looks good, but the thing is, there is a difference between looks good and looks real in terms of the colors, and I do aim for that look. And who knows, maybe when I'll start achieving it, I'll be like, I don't like it this much, and then I'll just go back to a more stylized color scheme, you know. So just very interesting to see that, to experience the learning curve in such a way, because I'm also working a lot of my awareness and analysis of skills, and I just really notice the changes I'm going through. Anyway, I just burst through this one in time-lapse as well. It's just me painting the roofs using that same combination. Maybe I warmed it a little bit with this one with some burnt sienna. But yeah, now I think I'll cool it back with some more, a mixture that's more dominated by blues. So yeah. I'm fairly happy with the results so far. And I did decide, as you can see, to use the paper white here for the highlight. I received that advice a few times here and on other places. They say, don't eliminate the whites immediately, consider still using them. So I'm trying to do more of that now. And yeah, just moving on with that wash. Nothing too special here. The part I left white right now will actually be colored with pure burnt sienna. You will see that in a moment. It's just very red in the reference, and I will show you the reference again, but as always there will be a link to the original one, so you can open it. If I don't show it constantly all throughout the video, you can open it on a separate window and take a look at it. The reason why I don't show the reference, in the past I would just stick it in there for the entire painting process. The thing is that it would require some hardcore editing on my end, because sometimes it gets in the way. If I'm doing the sky wash, I can't put it on the top areas. If I'm doing the grass, I can't put it in the bottom. I can't put it in the bottom right because that's where the channel icon comes and my hand comes from there. I can't put it on the top right because the palette is there. So you get it, it's just so much editing. So what I decided to do is just put it for a few seconds here and there, just for the impression, and then just have anyone who wants to look at it constantly just download it from the original link, and that's it. I think that's a better way of approaching the whole thing. Just find it much easier. I'm really, some days I struggle to do the daily videos. I'm not struggling in terms of the content, actually, because I do so much. This is a very interesting concept, by the way. So if you want to pay close attention, it's now. And this is something I talk a lot about with a good friend of mine. The more you produce content, the easier it becomes to produce content. And it's funny to say, but when I was doing one video a week, it was so hard to come up with ideas. I'd be like, what shall I do the video about? Should I do this? Should I do that? I would look on YouTube and see that some people already covered a certain topic, so why should I do it? And I was just paralysis by analysis. But the thing is, with a daily format, you kind of just have to do whatever, you know? So a lot of it is down to documenting. So this was a painting I was doing in any case. So I just documented it, and the more ideas you publish on a consistent basis, the more ideas you have. So right now I have, I don't know, like 50 ideas for videos, and I have this stock list, and I just go at it one by one, and every 3 days or so I get a barrage of new ideas that are still fresh in my mind, so I do them first, and all of this huge list gets postponed, and so I never run out of ideas, which is really cool. The thing is that sometimes it's hard to, and this is the challenge here, just this, in terms of schedule, some videos like this one, for example, that are super long, the export time is just so long. I'm using my computer is not the best. I will hopefully replace it soon. But just the export can take like a few hours sometimes. And I had a few, I don't know, like weird connection things that I would just leave a video to upload and it will take like 6 hours. And sometimes it's really cutting close to the deadline, to the actual time in which it will be published, and this is just a challenge. So I'm trying to always schedule a few videos far into the future. So right now I have like 3 videos scheduled, so that's 3 days in advance. And every day it's just constant work, constant editing. What I'm doing right now is a part of this process. I'm editing a video, recording the audio for it, the narration. And together with building more infrastructure things like the course, this people sketching people course, it can be a challenge because the two involve a lot of content creation. So when I'm working on the marketing, like Facebook ads and things like this, it doesn't take too much time. I just sort of experiment, let the ads run, and it's a very different type of work. But when I'm producing content for the YouTube channel, and I'm also working on producing content for a course, and it's an important part of my infrastructure because these products are what brings me money, you know. This is not a hobby for me. This is what I do for a living, and as such, I put in all of my seriousness into it, you know. So I want to make sure that I want people. Here's, by the way, the bird sienna I told you about. So anyway, I want people that buy any of my courses to be blown away, to be like, wow, I feel like I paid a completely reasonable price, but got so much value in return. So I'm really putting a lot of conscious, deliberate effort into maximizing the products. I'm highly critical of the things that you don't see. For example, you think I'm critical of my paintings, but in terms of the products, like the courses, I'm even more critical. You would be surprised because like people pay money for that, and it's funny because YouTube, you know, it's for free. No one has to pay for it, and I always want it to be for free. This is why I don't do Patreon or things like this, because I just don't feel it's right for me to ask people for money for something that's free, even if it's just in the form of donations. I feel much happier to sell stuff. So if I sell a painting, or if I sell a course, or if I sell like even one-on-one, sort of a more premium program, which is a little harder for me because I need my time. So it just means I need to be more compensated for it. So whenever I do these things, I'm super critical and super serious about them. But yeah, that being said, I'm probably super serious about the YouTube channel when you actually compare it to maybe other channels, because again, I don't know, it's just my personality, I guess. I just don't like to do things in a non-accurate way, or in a way that's not 100% perfect for me. You can call it perfectionism. I just call it being a winner in many cases. So yeah, it's something I really like about myself. So anyway, we have this painting process going on in front of us that I barely narrate. Now what I'm doing is building up the darker values, because now comes the most fun part, which is actually the shadows. It already started with the roof here, as you can see, and you also saw this in the time-lapse video. I zoomed in a bit. I'm not zooming in now because it's just so much editing work that this video will never be ready if I do that. But for the time-lapse, I want it to be entertaining, it's short, it's fun. So yeah, so now you see me negative painting very gently, very, very gently, around what could be window pane frames, or it could be maybe shutters or something like this. So I'm very careful about it. There's 3 in each window, and then I'm putting in a shadow under the sort of ledge of the window, and I'm trying to keep it consistent. So you see again 1, 2, and the third one. So just trying to work really slowly. This is the step in which you have to slow down and take your time. It's funny because now it looks like most of the painting is done, and if I look at the time frame of the video, it's about two-thirds in, but most of the slow work comes now. Now you really have to be accurate with these parts. So I'm putting in that shadow under the roof, struggling a bit with the angle. I didn't want to use my rigger brush. I wanted to use the silver black velvet for this one. because the rigor one is too thin. You will see me do some rigor work for the fence and for stuff like that. I didn't have my rigor brush with me in Paris, and I didn't buy one there, so I just did everything with this small silver black velvet brush. So hopefully now there will be improvement, that I actually have the rigor brush and I can use that. So yeah, that's a good thing. By the way, some of you who are following the comments and some of the things I mentioned in the more blog videos in Liron time, know that I've been really devoting a lot of time into working on painting off camera, not pressurizing myself to, not pressuring, pressurizing, just made up a word, I think. So not pressuring myself to. By the way, notice how the shadows make this pop. I really like this effect. But anyway, not pressuring myself to just share every painting I do and just look at it as work, 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 and just paint, you know, for my own fun, for my own satisfaction, but more importantly, because I also enjoy these paintings in front of the camera, just in a more importantly, in a more focused manner. So when the camera is on, as I mentioned, I am maybe 80% engaged in the painting, because in the back of my mind I have some thoughts running, of you know, if it's gonna be good enough, or sort of things like this. And even if I don't have these kinds of thoughts, or maybe you can call them insecurities, by the way, get a good look at the reference, even if I don't have these thoughts on a practical level, I need to arrange the camera, set it up, pause it when I'm waiting for a wash to dry, things like this. So it just takes some of my RAM, if you will, some of my memory, you know, in computer terms, and that actually hurts my engagement with the painting. So I just wanted to update you on that, and it's going really well, actually. The last few paintings, maybe I think like 80% of them were done off camera, really. Just me painting, and the results are really good. I'm very engaged in them. And when I recorded this one, it was after maybe 5 or 6 or 7 paintings that I did just on my own, no documentation whatsoever. I felt really confident in it, this one, even though I turned on the camera. So the confidence does improve with work. And there's this saying, by the way, what you see me now doing, it's not going to be dark enough, and I will go over that. So this is me misjudging the values here. They should all be darker, especially on those big chunks of wall that have lighter shadows on them. You'll see that soon. There's a saying that I really like, that it says that people are celebrated in public for things they work hard on in private. I just love that one, and it's so true, because you know, people can see all the hard work that goes into improvement. For most artists, for me, you can argue that you can see more of it, because I do document on a daily basis and I share a lot, but still you don't really see all the practice sessions I'm doing every day. I'm doing practice sessions every day, meaning in addition to painting, I'm doing this sort of a practice warm-up. But you know, a warm-up is not a time for me to say, oh, I'm just gonna do whatever I want and enjoy it. No. The warm-up can be more serious than an actual painting, because in the warm-up I'm working on skills. So for example, yesterday I did a warm-up of doing dry brush trees. I used a very dry brush to create this beautiful effect. By the way, check out Alan Owen's YouTube channel if you want to understand what I mean. I'm going to add a note to myself on 38 minutes and 50 seconds. Add link to Alan Owen. Add card. You'll see on the top right corner a card that says check out Alan Owen's videos. Alan Owen card. So anyway, he does something really nice with the trees. He uses a very dry brush technique for that, and I just wanted to practice this for a while, because it can create a very realistic impression of trees with less hassle, and it looks much less overworked, which is a common mistake I see among beginners, just having too overworked washes. So anyway, I did that practice session. I hope you can follow the thread of my thoughts, because I can be a little messy, I guess. But anyway, I did this practice session, and a lot of people say, well, how long can I really practice even washes or a specific technique? Well, you can practice for a long time if you just fill in entire pages of it. And this is what I did. I took one page and I just filled it up with tons of trees like this. And you know how I know that the practice session was good? It's because I feel exhausted afterwards. And the painting and what you see me work on now, that's my free time. That's like, oh, now I can create freely. I don't judge myself on that. But on the practice session, I am carefully observing my abilities. I'm carefully observing the way, if I achieved the effect I wanted. I'm not judging myself too much if I didn't, but I am trying to make sure I do achieve what I want to achieve, okay? By the way, I'm working on this video before today's practice session. I will do that immediately after I finish starting the export process. So now comes a really cool part, which is gonna add a lot of interest, which is the shadows on the trees. And the reason why I think works really well here is that the top part of the trees merges with the mountains in the background. And again, this is a bit counterintuitive, and some people may not like it because the blurriness maybe hurts the feeling of depth. But honestly, I don't care. I just wanted to have fun with these trees, so I let them all merge together. I hope some of you can appreciate that effect. And that way you have some wet, very merged washes, and then you have some more sharp lines and work on the shadows and the bottom of the trees that are a little, have more of a contrasty, strong changes. Okay. So anyway, yeah, the practice sessions I'm doing are really grueling, actually. If I practice even washes, what I usually do, and I have just a practice session for that, just working on even washes. So I will take a piece of paper. I use a fairly good paper even for my practice sessions, but maybe not like the best one I use. So I have one that's dedicated solely to paintings. And then I have one that's still really high quality, but it's a bit cheaper, so I use it for practice sessions. But sometimes I may use the good ones for practice sessions as well. So anyway, I have this practice session for even washes, and I take this paper, I divide it into maybe 6 parts, and I just do even washes for all of them, or I may practice one of them being more gradual change between 2 colors, but still even. No fragmentation, no blossoms, no weird flowers of doom, no strong streaks of paint due to the wash drying up. My whole goal is to work on that aspect, and I'm really working hard on it. So yeah, just going back to that whole idea of people don't see the hard work you put into it, and that's good. You know, that's good because then when you show them the painting, they're blown away. But it takes some time to understand sometimes how much work goes into just improving in something. And I've been doing watercolor for about almost a year and a half now, maybe a year and 3 months, I guess, so a year and a quarter, if you want to be super accurate here. And I see how I blaze past other people who started together with me. It's not someone you'd know, it's just people that I know, like from here, even from Israel. It doesn't refer to anyone there's any chance you would know. But anyway, and all it comes down to is just daily practice. And this is something I do and some people don't. And this is what sets you apart. I find that in practice, it's more efficient. I think the minimum is like 3 times a week. And it's so funny because 3 times a week is it's not about the quantity. What I'm trying to say is I lost my thread of thought here. It's not about doing it 3 times instead of once a week. It's not about like 4 or the more you do it. It's more about the distance between practice sessions is what I find. The consistency of that, meaning the smaller the distance is between your practice sessions, the more momentum you will build up in improving. So it's not necessarily that just extra practice does the trick, but it's more or less of a gap between different practice sessions. And of course that there's a correlation. It means the more more practicing, less gap. So there is a correlation, but it's not the causation, let's say. Just want to briefly stop here and mention the shadows on the fence here. I'm just using a blue and maybe a bit of green in it. And notice how it really creates a cool effect with the trees, makes them really, it makes them more anchored into the painting, because you feel the effect they have on the environment. I just love that part here of the painting. But back to what I was talking about, so I will just try and conclude it in one sentence. There isn't so much of a causation between the number of practice sessions and how fast you improve. The causation comes from small gaps between practice sessions. So if you practice every day, so the time gap between them is a day, that's much better than if the time gap is 3 days or 7 days. Okay, there is a correlation therefore between the times you practice per week and how quickly you improve, but not causation. And this is from my personal experience. Just drinking some water here. I know you like when I share what I do, so there you have it. Yeah. It's just talking for an hour, you know, sometimes you need to drink some water. So my point is that, yeah, I lost my point. But in any case, oh yeah, so just there are a lot of these kinds of variables that help you improve quickly. And I'm trying to embrace them all and do everything in my power to improve quickly. Oh yeah, I just wanted to say that this is from my personal experience. I don't know, some people out there may have it differently. They may work in sprints or maybe in a berserk of effort. For me, it doesn't work that way, but definitely, you know, feel free to experiment and see what works for you. So yeah, everything I say basically is from my personal experience. Take it as you wish. I do think there's a lot of truth to that, so I wouldn't discard it immediately. I would give it some thought. I think a lot of people can benefit from it because it's just so fresh in my mind. So yeah. Now I'm doing so a lot of you gave me advice. They said the foregrounds aren't good enough, and I'm really putting a lot of effort into trying to see what works for me in terms of the foreground. This is why I did the dry brush on the left. This is why I'm doing the grass blades here. So hopefully there is an improvement. There is more of a feeling of depth in my more recent paintings. I'm really putting an effort into it. And I want to use this opportunity to really thank you all. I just passed 6,000 subscribers, and well, it has been a few days ago, but at the time of recording this, it just happened last night. And I really appreciate all of your support. Just amazed by it. So much good going on here. So many people that are just complimenting and encouraging me, and I'm just so thankful for that. So really, I can't take it for granted. And I really want to grow this channel to be huge. I'm dreaming of millions of people everywhere that I can reach out to and influence and inspire. But I think like the spirit of this channel forever will be this. I really treat like this 6,000 as if it's, I don't know, 600,000 or 6 million or 60 million or 600 million, which is not really, doesn't exist right now on YouTube. But anyway, yeah, just really wanted to express my gratitude. Just amazing. Now I put some reds in the grass and just using those highlights from earlier. This is almost done, almost done. There's really just a few more details to put in, some rigor work, which is one of my favorite parts here. It just really brings out all the details. You will see now how I'm adding the clock on the top of the church, and just the fence. You'll see that the effect it has on the fence is just amazing. So anyway, yeah, just thanks again for all the encouragement, all the comments lately have been just wonderful, and as always, feel free. I'm telling you honestly, I'm replying to every comment right now, and it's a lot of effort, but I want to continue doing it. If you have any requests for a video you want me to do or anything, let me know. I'm saying this, it's funny enough. I don't know if in a few months I will be able to reply to all comments, because the growth is just, it's amazing. And I really want to, and I always will show presence in the comment section, but it's, I don't know, for example, right now, I can't even, I don't even count, like, I don't know, maybe I have like 20, 30 comments per video, maybe sometimes 15, I don't know, but when it's gonna be 100 times more, I don't think it's possible to answer all of them. So if you have any requests you want to make them now, because in the future I don't know if I can actually get to all the comments, although I really want to, I have to say. So you can see how this dry brush really makes the fence pop, and you can see it, and it's just amazing. The one thing I do want to add here is mainly some details on the roof, so you will soon see this. There's this golden thing on the top that I want to just bring out some of its color. So I'm using this sort of an orange dark. It's hard to see this here. I hope to, by the way, get better recording equipment so we can just better see the colors and the details. This is something I'm really looking forward to. My inspiration in that sense is actually Tio's channel. If you don't know it, I'm sure many of you know it. I talked about it a lot. He has like a pretty big channel, I would say, for urban sketching, things like this. And his recording quality is just spectacular. I love it. And this is something I definitely want to improve. Because right now it's not crazy. My camera is good. It's definitely good, but it can be much better. So you can expect that soon. The audio for now is good, so I don't really change it. And now I'm adding some details again to the roof. There is this sort of an indication of a pattern on all of the roofs, and there's this outline that really adds some beauty to it. The rigger work is really fun. I find it's just the final touches. It won't save a bad painting, but it can definitely enhance a good one. So I'm just really excited when it works for me, and when I feel like it's enhancing the painting. Like Joseph's book, which says this is like jewels. It's not really. He says it's like jewels on a woman. The woman is beautiful regardless, but the jewels just add to it. So you can't expect a painting to become pretty just by, adding some details here and there. It's just, it doesn't work that way. But if the drawing is already good, then you can add some more details to bring out the beauty in it. So it's just like little decorations. That's what it means, like in the jewels analogy. It's just a decoration. So now now that I added some outlines for the roofs, I'm gonna add some vertical lines to the topmost one. I'm just trying to, right now I'm thinking how I should approach this, and what else requires some more details, because I don't want to overdo it. It's really easy to overdo it. Adding some of the blocks here, there's like a block pattern on the wall, and you can see I'm not filling it up perfectly. I'm just throwing it in there. I don't want to boldly state, hey, look, there's blocks here. I just want to hint at it, okay? Which is a good thing to do. If you can express something with less details, it's better. I like this narration. I think it's full of really cool details and advice, and I don't know, just concepts and ideas. It's just fun. Let me know what you think in a comment below. If you actually made it this far, let me know. I'm curious. Because I have this impression that, I don't know, no one really watches 100% of the video. I guess I don't do that too for most videos, but I'm just curious to know if anyone made it here, then let me know. So now you see me mess up a bit, and this is good. It's really good because it made me practice some lifting. So I'm wetting the brush, drying most of it, going over that, and you can see I'm making this piece of this little line wet. Now I'm drying the brush completely, cleaning it in clear water, drying it, and picking up the rest of the wet. And that's it. This one's done. Okay friends, so here's the final result. I hope you enjoyed this video, seeing the whole process, and I think this is a really good ending to this video sequence. You were able to see sort of the planning process as well as the time-lapse, and then this final video that's more narrated.
I'm really pleased with the result. I'm not sure exactly what I would change right now, which is good. I think it means I'm getting closer to making it to the next level because I'm not really recognizing my mistakes here. I'm sure there are a few. I tried mirroring it and just looking at it. I think maybe this could have been done a little better. The skies aren't really that even, and I actually have a small blotch of blue here, kind of messed up with that. But overall, again, really pleased with this one. The highlights here played an important role, and I think if I would have thought about it earlier, I would have left some similar ones here on the right side. But anyway, yeah, I had a lot of fun doing this. Let's change the angle and wrap up this video. This is it, friends. Here's the final result. I hope you can see this well, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And what a way to conclude this sequence of 3 videos. I hope this is fun. Let me know in a comment below if you've made it this far into the video, which I thank you for. Let me know in a comment below if you like this idea of sequences, of several videos focusing on one scene or one painting and then having them all in a playlist. I'm really curious to know if this is something interesting to you or boring, if you like that we dive deeper into one creation or you'd prefer to spread it out. I'm really curious to hear your opinion on it. And this is it. Don't forget to subscribe here and follow me on Instagram and Snapchat. And I will see you again with another new, different video tomorrow.